We have a lot. So before you launch into your material, I've got a collection of material. Once we announce that the Trade Bell is coming, I'll tell you what's come through most strongly this morning from multiple correspondents who would like to know the chances of Luke Bruce to Carlton.
Whoa, well, that would be out of left field.
So there's half a dozen, and it was one that I noted down from yesterday that had come through.
Right, that's doing the rounds, is it?
Well, there's clearly some people who are either thinking that's the perfect solution or that they're hearing it. And remember, our 4 categories are, yes, that's in play. No, that's not happening. I haven't heard that. Or that's the stuff of fantasy.
Well, unequivocally, that fits into the I haven't heard that basket. But it is interesting that it's raised. Now, we did report earlier on this year that Carlton were always going down, well, prioritising the draft this year. They've had, as we know, they've been big players in free agency, big players in trade to address the shortcomings they see in their list in recent times. Now, they were saying that if they were to take part in the free agency market this year, then it would be at the smaller end of the scale. So that ruled out Carl Amon. There's been a few murmurs around Blake Acres and what depends on what Blake wants to do at Fremantle. It depends on where Luke Brewster's at in a market sense. He's still playing some darn good football for Hawthorn this year in a battling side. I'm not sure he would come cheap enough, but he's a bloody good player. And if he's available to you, it wouldn't be easy to reject, I wouldn't have thought. So maybe some homework to look into that one.
I haven't heard that in that category. All right, let me run these past you. Hunter Clark out of St Kilda.
Haven't heard that one either. And I know that one you gave me yesterday as an assignment. And I'm like the kid whose dog ate his homework on that one. So I'll come back to you on Hunter Clark.
Nick Nat Nui to the D's.
I haven't heard that one. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I have heard that one. I think, what was the category? Was there a fantasy category?
Yeah, that's the stuff of fantasy.
I wouldn't say it's complete fantasy, but that's borderline.
Darcy Fogarty to Richmond as the long-term replacement for Jack.
I haven't heard that either. I'd be pretty surprised if Adelaide were willing to let Darcy go. Not to say Richmond wouldn't ask the question, but can I file that in there's a bit I haven't heard. File that in that category.
Now, this came through as a definitive statement, which are some of my favourites. Keep in mind, this is the correspondence that we play with on the Trade Bell.
Yep.
And that's why we give you the categories. Gunston done at Essendon.
Done at Essendon. No, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about Jack Gunston being done at Essendon. He might not be done at Hawthorn at this rate. The player hasn't sat down to really decide where he wants to play next year, albeit there's been a bit of tie kicking going around, and Brisbane's certainly one of those clubs.
Saints any chance for Zane Cordy?
Geez, haven't heard that one either. Okay, marking it down. So this is a good thing about the Trade Bell, though, Gerard, because we can mark these down and we can do some homework on them.
And is Asava Ratugolea looking around?
Yeah, that's an interesting one that I've tried to get to the bottom of it. I reckon he's a player we need to keep an eye on. So he's contracted for next year. I mean, I know he played, but he's fallen out of favour at the Cats. And we know he was a Chris Scott favourite for a long period of time. He was unsighted since round 3. It's a long time to be playing he was playing a lot of VFL games in defence as well. I guess it's a matter of whether he would look to move and would another club make an approach. Do you look at the list at Geelong and think, there's so many ahead of me here and I want to get more out of my career now? Or do you kick back, you're comfortable, you say, I back myself in for next year, I'm contracted and aim to win a new deal, knowing that the likes of Tom Hawkins won't be around forever? I mean, that's a question only Asava can answer, but surely there'll be clubs asking the question.
Devon Robertson is being spoken to by the Eagles. This has come from 3 or 4. There was an email and Noddy has sent that through anew.
Thanks, Noddy. All right, we'll check that one out too.
And could Carlton be keen on Blake Acres?
Yeah, that's definitely been rumoured. Blake Acres is a player who has been put on the radar of quite a few clubs. I think North Melbourne might be another one as well. We might as well discuss him now. So he has been offered a contract for next year at Fremantle that isn't really to his liking. He might even be being asked to take less, Gerard. He was pretty well paid when he first came across and took a while to get going at Fremantle. Now, that's turned around this year. He's finally found a role and a game style that suits him. He's playing every week. He might be probably be top 10 in the best and fairest. Whether he'd entertain another move back over to the Eastern Seaboard, whether it be Carlton, whether it be North Melbourne, might be a stretch. But who knows? But the bottom line is the contract, they're a fair way apart at the moment, player and club.
Okay, and then this will be the last one from the correspondence today. I like it when they come with, please don't read my name out.
That's another version of take it to the bank.
Your secret is safe with us. Hayden Crozier will leave the Bulldogs.
Oh, okay.
I haven't heard that.
Will leave the Bulldogs. I have not heard that, but my eyebrows are raised.
Right.
Whoa.
So
geez,
that's the good Trade Bell correspondence.
They're really good.
Yeah.
So
So
they're good.
0433 98 11 16, temper mattress like no other. The ones that are a bit more elaborate and you'd like us to do some work on, Whateley at sen.com.au. Now, what's the real stuff in play?
Well, this is part real, part speculation. I'm just going to put that right out there, right off the top. Okay, I've declared my hand. Geelong. I just wonder if the Cats might be orchestrating another stunning trade coup here, Gerard. So another anti-aging jab, if you like, as they defy the equalisation process. Jacob Hopper and Brodie Grundy are the two names that keep coming up at Geelong. Hopper, we know, has a year to run on his GWS deal. The Giants need to clear the cap space. They have prioritised Tim Taranto. The Cats, as we do know, have a long-held interest in Jacob Hopper. But they also have an interest in Brodie Grundy. Now, it's been hard to decipher how substantial that interest is. But the ruck position has long been an itch they can't scratch. And according to a couple of sources this morning, they are right in the running here for Brodie Grundy. Could they get both, Gerard? So Hopper, $600,000 maybe a season, shouldn't take a lot of convincing to get back down to Victoria. I think that's what he wants to do. Grundy, let's call it $700,000 a season. We know he's got 5 years at $5 million. There's an acceptance in the industry that Collingwood pay a portion. Higgins and Dalhouse coming to the end of their careers this year, it seems, at Geelong. That frees up some money. Could the Cats even back-end a Grundy deal, coinciding with the eventual retirements, whenever they might be, of Hawkins, of Selwood, of Isaac Smith and the like? Dangerfield has another 2 years, could possibly go beyond that. He's 32, but could go on for a long period of time. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that the Cats could pull another unbelievable Swiftie and get them both in. Right. And if that did come to pass, then goodness me, Gerard, wouldn't rival club supporters be absolutely up in arms wanting to look at the books? But they do a good job, and Andrew Mackie, he works it as hard as anyone. So watch this space. We'll see what happens.
Imagine if they did that as the defending premier.
They are active players. It's going to be a really fascinating watch. Okay, moving on. There's a lot of pieces in play at Fremantle. Rory Lobb, Western Bulldogs. Support for Tim English, who has the same management company. Steph Martin nearing the end. Sam Darcy could be anything, but he looks like his development will come steadily in the key position posts. So Liam Jones arrives down back. Lobb has always wanted to move. He's always wanted to move, going back more than 12 months. His girlfriend is the daughter of the ex-Fremantle CEO and now the CEO of the VRC, Steve Rossich. So there's a family connection here in Melbourne, which is where he wants to play his football, and it looks as though he's found a home at the Western Bulldogs. It's different for Griffin Logue, his teammate at the moment. Now, I'm told he's telling teammates Griffin Logue that he doesn't want to leave the club. He's a WA guy. He's got no interest in leaving. He does have a contract on the table from the Dockers worth around $500,000 a season, but there's a hold up here. So perhaps if a club offers more elsewhere, that's all part of the negotiating that goes on. It's got nothing to do, in fact, with the Luke Jackson situation, given Lobby's going, so that opens up and has played both ends this year. Griffin Logue, one to watch. I think he stays. Bailey Banfield's out of contract as well, had some nice moments and some good games. Blake Acres, we spoke about as well, being asked to potentially take less than what he signed when he came across the first time. Now, Mitch Robinson I want to talk about at the Brisbane Lions, who are in the pointy end of the season again. Now, he's out of contract at the end of the season, and there's been a few clubs who have had very preliminary discussions about acquiring Mitch Robinson for next year. I think it's fair to say that there's no guarantee he's at Brisbane next year, and a couple of clubs have come calling. Now, he's played the 14 games this year, Gerard. He's been used as the Medi-sub 3 times. He is 33, but maybe if the planets align in the right environment, a leadership role, a standard setting sort of a role, he'd be a nice fit somewhere else next year. So he's a watch, been a good player, got a lot out of his career given he was cut by Carlton in 2014 for off-field reasons. So the fact that he would then be going to a club in a leadership capacity at the tail end of his career says you everything you need to know about what he's made of his career after a difficult moment that saw him leave the Blues. So I think he's a watch going forward, Mitch Robinson, as well as a number of other players that just on the periphery of their sides, Josh Shackey, Mitch Robinson, those sort of guys we probably need to have a look at as the year goes on.
Yep, just a little shuffle around of positions potentially there. Have you got anything else you'd like to put forward?
Clarko to the Kangas we spoke about in relation to Cam Zerha. Jason Orr-Francis is the other one. So 12 months to go on the contract. You'd think he sits tight right now. Maybe 7 to 8 weeks ago, I'm not sure if we spoke about this yesterday, North were bracing. They were bracing for Adelaide to come calling, but the Crows pivoting and going to Rankin. I think from Jason Horne-Francis' point of view, you're not going to be worth any less this time next year. You sit and watch for a year. You can't lose. You like what you see at the Kangaroos. You like what you see in the direction. You stay long term, or you get an enticing offer to go home and you accept that. So I think we'll push pause on that one, barring anything extraordinary happening in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Collingwood people would like to trade Grundy for Ratugolea.
Okay.
Asava plays full forward, then McStay can play either third tall or key defence. That's a good trade.
That is.
Asava isn't going to get a game if Grundy comes in also.
Yeah, that might be a piece of the puzzle to watch.
There's a few that have come through there. So we love an elaborate scheme. I told you we'd share an elaborate scheme today. I reckon this had a name on it, but it clipped off when I took the photo yesterday. So apologies for not being able to attribute this. North Melbourne splits 1 to Adelaide's first pick, 5, and Gold Coast's first pick, 7 or 8. Gold Coast lose Rankin, get pick 1. Adelaide get Rankin. North gets 5 and 7. It's not enough in it for North, to our correspondent.
Yeah, so they're losing. They're losing 1, and they're getting
1 for 5 and 7's not enough. You got to. I reckon you just have to be a little lower than 5 to make. I don't mind the idea of 1 player becomes 2, but I reckon 5's too low as a starting point.
Love an elaborate scheme, though.
Yeah. So,
I'm all for the elaborate scheme.
So these are not in play. These are ideas, and we encourage ideas.
That's a new segment there.
The more creative, the better.
There's a new subject. Elaborate scheme.
Elaborate scheme.
We might have just had one with Geelong and the elaborate scheme. Could they get them both in, Grundy and Hopper? Boy, oh boy. Cue the fallout if that takes place.